So with our lovely Miss M, sorry about the interruption just a few moments ago. My little one needed some assistance. So obviously, when working with puppies, we were discussing how a lot of times they can be, again, like mouthy little piranhas. So I would highly recommend I know you brought a slew of her toys, which was great. We want to make sure that we're giving her outlets for that normal mouthing behavior. If, though, again, you guys are typically becoming the targets, or your littles or other dogs in the home, I believe you guys mentioned you have 2 other older dogs. A lot of times adult dogs and even us don't enjoy the mouthing to the extent that sometimes puppies will offer. So what can be beneficial is obviously giving her those rest periods throughout the day in puppy-proofed zones. So that could be a corral, that could be your puppy's crate, that could be a gated section of the home. But I would recommend to definitely use management to help her be successful in those bubbles. Remember, she's very much like a small little human toddler. She's going to try to put everything into her mouth, and especially being a lab, she's going to try to explore the world through her mouth, but even sometimes to the extreme. So just because she's a lab and she's meant to retrieve things doesn't mean she does a great job retrieving, let alone carrying things or even handling them with care. So there's plenty of labs that don't quite make the cut for being great retrievers, be it in the real world setting of retrieving items that have been, again, asked for. So when it comes to our lovely lady, right now I gave her a couple little things. I just put some of her treats and some of her goodies into the bone so she could work on licking. So a lot of folks will tell me, oh, my puppy got a bit rowdy or a bit feisty when I went to reach for something to take it away. So remember, we tend to be the end of fun. So what I mean by that is we tend to be, don't eat the acorn, don't eat the stick, don't eat the mulch, don't eat the bunny poop, all these things that we're trying to keep our puppies alive for another day. But remember that from the puppy's perspective, they don't understand you're trying to keep them safe. They just view us as the end of fun or the ones that take things right from them. So we might by accident be creating the conflict that we're trying to avoid. Nice job. Which could be, for example, gulping behaviors, or it could even be, for example, resource guarding. So if you're finding that your puppy is having a really hard time letting go of things they can have, we need to work through that first before we start working on things they shouldn't have. So I know I've discussed having the toy exchange game. So for example, the other option too is I like to sometimes put, let's say in a toy or a chew item, like let's say she's enjoying something from home and you would like to, for example, work on getting her to feel safe relinquishing it. There's a lot of bad, a lot of bad information out there where you should go and put your hands in the puppy's food. You should go and take the bowl, pick it up, put it back down. You should be able to bother them and touch them while they're enjoying an item. The problem with that setup is that you might actually be creating the problem you're trying to avoid. One of my favorite scenarios is, let's say, for example, you were about to have the best meal of your life. And let's say, for example, someone just meanders over, grabs your plate, picks it up and gives it back, takes your plate and gives it back. You're gonna be like, what the heck is going on? Especially if you're mid-meal, mid-bite, you're not gonna be the happiest person having some stranger come over and bother you mid-meal. So this is where I would view it from that perspective, where when you're enjoying something, let them be or help them through the situation. So let's say, for example, let's say this person comes over to bug you again, but instead of going and reaching for the plate, they offer you $1,000 before they come to interrupt your meal. You're going to start to look for this person to come interrupt you to gain that lovely paycheck. So let's say my puppy is enjoying her lovely hoof or whatever it might be, her chew. I'm going to go and be that interrupter and then feed her a paycheck she finds, again, appropriate and fun and exciting. So if, for example, she's chewing on this bone, this could be the treat and retreat exercise. So let's say she's enjoying her bone. I'm going to go ahead and drop some food into the little bubble she was chewing in and just let her go back to chewing and enjoying her snack. So this way, it's almost like you are the topping person. And let's say, for example, your puppy's enjoying some sort of snack like an ice cream cone. And as you're going through all your toppers, when this person comes back with extra toppers, you're going to be excited to see them because they can refill up your ice cream with the things you enjoy. So let's say Miss M was enjoying her little snack. I'm just going to try to reinvigorate it so she wants to go to town for it. So let's say my puppy is enjoying this nice stinky hoof, and I want to be that person that comes and interrupts. you're not going to go and just take the item or offer her food right then and there and pull the thing out of her mouth or move it away from her, because then you're still using a little bit of trickery to get her to relinquish it. Then she might think every time you come nearby with a lure, which is the other snack in the other hand, is that you're going to take her prize away again. So she's enjoying her snack. I'm going to go ahead, toss a snack at her, and then walk away. So I'm not going super far, so that way it's not too overwhelming. So while she's enjoying her hoof, I'm going to again go over and then drop another little snack for the lovely lady while she's enjoying her chew. What this starts to do, well, of course, she wants to check in with me. I'm going to feed her for that disengagement, but this would get your puppy thinking that every time you come near, you made the thing that she was enjoying even cooler than it once was. So if I came and interrupted your meal, depending on how hangry you are, you might poke me with your spoon, fork, or knife, depending on the amount of get away from me you might have during your meal. So remember, for puppies, we want them to think that us coming near when they have something of value is non-threatening, is non-confrontational, and this would eventually also help prevent the behavior like gulping and resource guarding. Some dogs and some breeds are more prone to resource guarding because of either genetics, what they have or haven't been exposed to, and also sometimes depending on what they may have been dealing with litter mates or even their mothers. So when your puppy's enjoying this chew, now as opposed to feeding and retreating, which is again like that person bringing you the $1,000, I might have her get up to retrieve her $1,000 over here versus at the dinner table. So now she's enjoying her hoof. I would go, ready, find it, get her to get up and leave her hoof, and then go back to chewing again when she's ready. So this way, going and leaving her item didn't mean it went away. It didn't mean I went and took it from her. And notice how she doesn't mind leaving the item to come do some check-ins. So this could be a little kissy noise. This could be her name and then a find it. But what we're trying to do is get Miss M to think that letting go of a high value chew item is no big deal. That way, if let's say your puppy did happen to grab, oh no, the sock, oh no, some random no item, you could go and get her attention, maybe do the kissy noise, get her attention, and then do a find it. And then when she's off doing that, pick up the no item that was not available for her. But if every time you make it into somewhat conflict, involved, or for example, chase me, she's going to start to think that the keep away game might be the thing that you're really interested in. And then she could get overwhelmed, as the puppy is getting chased and then she gets cornered, then she might become more overwhelmed or potentially agitated. So you sort of, for example, people, we tend to group behavior as good or bad. And the problem with that is a lot of times behavior is the response to the environment or to your dog's comfort range. So dogs, for example, and puppies either feel safe or unsafe. When they feel unsafe, their only options are typically flight, which if, let's say, she's stuck in a house, if she's in a leash situation, if she's stuck behind a wall, then there's no escape. So fight or flight are typically the ones that pop up, but what a lot of people forget about is fawn, which is where they're kind of like a little overwhelmed and floppy, fidget, so very wiggly, fawn, fidget, freeze, so where they pause and get rigid. And then of course, flight would be normally their typical first option, but then fight might be their only resort. So fight does not always mean a bite or a growl or a snap in the air, but it could be wooing and sort of getting the thing to try to create more distance between them and the spooky or the overwhelming. So try to view behavior as not good or bad, not right or wrong, but just simply communication. So if let's say your toddler was giving you a hard time, they're not actually giving you a hard time, they're having a hard time. So if instead view it as their only option for saying, hey, I'm having a hard time, I don't understand, I'm too tired, my teeth hurt. So there's going to be lots of things that she's going to go through developmentally, because right now she's a wee little baby until about 5 months. Then comes 6 months, she turns into a teenager. And then 6 months to about 18 months to about 2 years, she's then still an adolescent and a teenager. So after the 2-year mark, then she starts to go into more her young adult life and then further on. So for your lovely lady, definitely mandatory breaks, like you mentioned, she gets naps, very important. But make sure she sometimes also has appropriate outlets that will make sure that she's chewing on the appropriate thing versus the wrong item. And make sure that also throughout the day, we're sometimes giving her little moments to practice little skills. And it could be a few minutes at a time throughout the day. Yes. So, but we'll give her a little break from this and we'll start to give her a few other things to work on, but she's doing a really great job for her very first day. And she's doing so very pretty. Nice job, cuteness. So give our little Miss M a breather and we'll give her a chance to take a nap.